Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to yet another episode in our One and Done series. Tonight we are looking at the one and only album from the supergroup Shadow King. This was the band that featured Lou Gramm and Vivian Campbell. Is this album worth picking up? Well, you'll find out at the end of this episode. Without any further ado, let's get started.
Crank up those headphones. It's time for Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to yet another episode in our One and Done series. Tonight we are looking at the American hard rock supergroup Shadow King. Formed in 1990. There's the props. Formed in 1990 by Foreigner lead singer Lou Gramm, Def Leppard guitarist Vivian Campbell. And of course, Vivian Campbell was in Dio too. Kevin Valentine from Donnie Iris. Might be a Donnie Iris show coming up, gentlemen. And bass player Bruce Turgan. And everybody knows who's Bruce. He's been on Lou Gramm's solo records. He's also been on... He was in the band Black Sheep with Lou.
That's right.
Prior to Foreigner. Yeah. So they have a long history. But this is the band, well, they put out their self-titled, hold it up there, Ernesto. Self-titled album in 1991. This is the only album they put out. And when I was on the 80s cruise in March, that was talked about. Lou was really behind the record big time. This was on, wait a minute, what was this on Atlantic? It was on Atlantic.
Yeah, Atlantic.
Yeah. But evidently, Mick Jones went into Atlantic and to whoever and told them not to promote it. That if this record would take off or something to that. I'm going to try to find the clip from that interview and stick it in here. In fact, I'll stick it in here right now.
You mentioned the Shadow King album, which I absolutely love.
Thank you.
I know the climate of music was kind of changing around the time. Were there ever plans to do a second album with Vivian?
Well, you know, when I brought the idea of Shadow King and the personnel to Atlantic Records, they were gung-ho. You know, we got a nice budget and promised their full support. And we went into the studio with Keith Olsen and recorded an awesome album, I think. Right. And it was hard rock. It was heavy, but the songs were memorable and easily could have made it into the top 25, top 30 in the single department. My take on things. I had a lot of friends that worked in the Atlantic Records promotion department and a few other departments that had been friends of mine since Foreigner started, you know. And so when the Shadow King album was released, I didn't see or hear any promotion on it in the trade papers, on the radio. I never heard the first single or any of the songs played on the radio, not once. And in the record stores and in the places where you would find the album, it wasn't there. Oh. And I heard from my close friends who worked in other departments of Atlantic Records that my good friend Mick, you know my friend Mick, told the president of Atlantic, I'm not quite sure who it was at the time, but that Mohammed had passed by then, I believe. He's the chairman of the board, by the way. I don't remember who the president of Atlantic was, but he told the president of Atlantic if this album is a hit, we'll never be able to get Lou back, and that'll be the end of Foreigner, who has made so much money for you.
Oh, boy.
So you've got to make sure that doesn't happen. That's what one of my friends told me, and my other friends backed up that story to the letter. That the album was just ignored by Atlantic Records and not promoted at all.
I hate this business.
And so because of that, we played one show as a band, and it was in London at the Rainbow Room, and it was packed to the rafters, and we brought down the house, and it was just after that we learned that we were being sabotaged by our own record company. And it wasn't 2 weeks after that Vivian Campbell had the offer to go with Def Leppard, and that was the end of the band.
Oh my God.
It's sucky business.
I didn't know that Mick Jones
Came in and said, if you put this record out, that'll end Foreigner. Do not promote it. Blah, blah, blah. And that really much killed it. They didn't do any promotion behind it. When I ended up getting the CD, I don't have it with me right now, but mine's a promo. I don't know if I've ever seen one out in the store.
No.
Well, I don't have one, and I've been looking. So there you go. I mean,
There you go.
even the used CD shops where I could find nearly anything AOR, I couldn't find Shadow King.
Yeah.
But Ernesto has it here.
But look at the cover art too. It's kind of lackluster. It's just kind of, I don't know. You wouldn't know who the band is. You can't make out anybody on the cover.
And maybe Graham. That's about it.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Lou Graham's on
Maybe.
the far left.
I don't
That's
know.
might be it.
It's a bad design. I will give it that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to look at this record. Like I said, this is the only record that they put out, and that was it. In fact, they played like what? Ernesto, what they do? They played one show, right?
They played in London.
Played one show. That's it.
One show in London.
And then basically, Vivian Campbell got an offer from, was it Whitesnake?
Def
No.
Leppard.
I mean, Def Leppard. Sorry. Def Leppard to come join them. And
Yeah.
that
And then
ended
Lou
Shadow
Gramm.
King.
And then Lou Gramm and the other guy went to Foreigner.
Bruce
Yeah.
Jargon. Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to take a look at this record, and I'm just going to start out with John Music Nut and then go over to Ernesto and get their thoughts on it. And your rating out of 10, see how we like it. Can we recommend this record? I don't know, but we're going to find out. So, all right, John the Music Nut, what's your take on this and what's your rating?
Okay. I'm not too high on this record. Or I would have the CD, I would have paid some money for it. Because what I was thinking to myself as I was first checking this out was, is this something I'm going to listen to in the future? And I listened to it several times, and while there were some songs on here that grew on me, it isn't something I could see myself revisiting. Although there are a few good songs on here. This album, okay, this is how I could compare this album. It reminds you in quality of the Bad Company albums of the late 80s and early 90s where Brian Howe and Terry Thomas were doing a lot of songwriting.
Right.
You listen to those albums, they're recorded well, the singles are great. The first sides of the album, which were usually where all the singles were, are pretty good. And then the second side, it just like comes and goes. It's just a bunch of songs. They don't really stand out. It also reminds me a little bit of the later Foreigner albums, later meaning Age of Provocateur and later in that same aspect. There's the CD there.
You may never see it again, John, so, that's what
Yeah. Yeah, because I really was looking hard for this in all seriousness. This was produced by Keith Olsen. Keith Olsen, wow, what a career. I read he had 45, he has produced 45 gold or platinum albums and counting.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got a great track record.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, if you listen to Double Vision, which he produced, and listen to this, not much similarity. I would never have thought this was a Keith Olsen produced record, to be honest.
It seems like in the late 80s to early 90s, he had this sound. If you listen to Whitesnake, self-titled or 1987. It's similar in recording than that. You got the gated drums, you got the keyboards in the background, which you hear. Very similar sound quality. In fact, there's one song on here I think they borrowed a lot from Whitesnake. But a lot of talent in this band, as Grant has indicated. So how's the album? Well, here we go. What Would It Take is a pretty good opener. One thing you really hear on here, Lou Gramm's voice is spectacular.
Right.
He sounds great throughout this album. I mean, he's lost nothing. I mean, he would have been 41 at this point. He still sounds fantastic. He sings this song, as all the songs, very well. This is a good opener. It's got a catchy chorus, some good solos from Vivian Campbell. It's recorded well. Kevin Valentine, Bruce Turgan, they're just spot on the whole time. They're not doing anything to reinvent the wheel. They're just very solid musicians. And Kevin Valentine's done a lot of studio work. Most notably, he played on 3 albums by Kiss. He played on Hot in the Shade. He played on Revenge. And he played on all the songs but one on Psycho Circus. So he's a solid drummer. He's done a lot of work. This is a good song, good opener. Now, the next track is Anytime, Anywhere. This kicks ass. This is great. Best song on the album, bar none. I would think maybe if this was released a year or two earlier, 89 or 90, you got like a top 5 AOR hit here. And maybe grazes stuff top 100 on Billboard. On the pop 100. It's that strong. It's just a catchy song. It rocks. The keyboards are way more in the background if there's any at all. This is a superb track. By far the best one in my opinion. Once Upon a Time has those keyboards that are higher in the mix, like you'd hear on some of the other work he did in the 80s. Just to give you an idea, he also produced albums for Heart, Passion Works. He produced Crimes of Passion and Precious Time for Pat Benatar. He did Bad Company, Fame and Fortune. There you go. There's the first of those Brian Howe albums right there. Scorpions, Crazy World. They all have a similar sound to them. Well, maybe not so much to Pat Benatar albums because they were like in the early 80s. Next track is Once Upon a Time, as I was saying. That's a very good track. It's got a very good chorus on, nice solo from Vivian Campbell. I think if the keyboards were a little lower in the mix and it had a more increase in tempo, it was a little faster, I think the song would be even better. But it's still a very good track. Now, Don't Even Know I'm Alive reminds you of Is This Love by Whitesnake, but it's not half as good. Yeah. You hear certain parts and hear certain hooks, and you're like, that's from Is This Love. The guitar solo Vivian puts in, it's a lot like John Sykes's slower, more emotional soloing, like on Is This Love. That is an excellent solo on Is This Love. This is very similar to that. So when you get past that, it's decent. Another good chorus on here. After this, I think the album slowly goes into mediocrity. Next song is Boy, which is more of a rocker. It's okay. It doesn't really knock your socks off, though. The next song is I Want You. This was the single. Why? Well, I guess because Lou Gramm went to Atlantic Records and said, don't promote this album. So they went and they put this as the single, and it's, oh gosh, Anytime, Anywhere just blows this out of water.
That's a good point, because I hate to interrupt, but you're totally right, John, but think about it. Why wouldn't you use What Would It Take? It's the lead track off the record. Everybody knows in record sequencing that you're going to lead off with the single, well, at least the first single, and there
Yeah,
was only one single released off this, and it was "I Want You," and it's track 6.
Would be
I
the
don't get
first,
it.
yeah,
It's
like
like
it would,
everything's just totally wrong here, you know?
yeah, it would be like the first track on the cassette on side 2.
Right.
Yes.
You know, it's like, and it's just, I don't like, it's too simple. It's got this silly chorus. There's nothing to it. I mean, it's just bad choice as a lead single. Next track we have "This Heart of Stone," which is interesting because just a few years earlier, Lou Gramm recorded "Heart Turns to Stone" with Foreigner on the Inside Information album. That is the better song than "This Heart of Stone." It's okay. To me, it sounds more like soundtrack music. You know, it's like, it's there. It's okay, but I mean, it's not going to grab you. It's something you play while you're, you know, doing some vacuuming or doing some cleaning around the house on a Saturday afternoon. And if you're not listening to Grant's Rock Warehouse where he's doing a 70s listening party, or perhaps an 80s, or perhaps an early 90s listening party.
Yet to be done, but that's a darn good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime, anywhere be pretty good.
I'm going to open it up with "I Want You" from Shadow King too.
There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
And maybe I'll do that. The next one's a 90. No one's, yeah, that's John. I like your ideas. All right, carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all good. All good. Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't stick in your head. That's why I wrote here. The performance is good. The performances are all strong. They're all professional. Song doesn't stick in your head. Same goes with "Danger in the Dance of Love." I feel the same way. Vivian sounds good. Song just comes and goes. You know, not much to it. I mean, and it's not that I only listened to it once. I checked this album out 4 or 5 times. I wanted to see, am I missing something here? Is this going to grow on me? Because the songs on the first side really grew on me. But this one, not so much. Well, not much on the second side. "No Man's Land's a little better. It's got a good chorus. There's some good use of atmosphere here on the solo. Little better, but again, it doesn't really touch the first 3 tracks or so. And then "Russia," that's a slow song with Lou and Vivian at the end, where he's bounced between like acoustic and electric guitar. And a lot of artists were writing about Russia back then. It's okay. Nice vocal performance. Nice slow song to end the album, you know, it's all right. But yeah, this was an album that I thought you might be thinking, oh, what, maybe timing hurt this record. And I think about it, I'm like, you know, maybe in 89 or 90, Anytime, Anywhere gets a lot of radio play. I don't think it goes really high in the charts, though. This is not an album that's going to go gold. And you think about some of those great early 90s albums that had like 4 songs at AOR that didn't go gold, like Archangels, for example.
Right.
Not saying that these are similar bands. They're certainly not, but I think there's only like 2 songs on here that I think really could have made waves on AOR, even when this kind of sound was more in vogue. Now, at this point, grunge was just about to destroy the earth. So a lot of these AORs bands were, they hate to say it, they kind of became dinosaurs at this point, but so many of them had wonderful catalogs before that. Now, this album, 4.5 out of 10.
Whoa. All right. 4.5 out of 10.
4.5.
I was just looking up. I'm just looking up Nevermind.
What I liked.
Okay. Nevermind from Nirvana came out September 24th, 1991.
Right.
And I've told this story before because I remember when this came out. Oh, geez.
Is that a bug or is that your mic?
No, we're having a storm and something just hit the window.
Oh, shit.
Probably a branch.
Probably a branch. And it's really blowing out there, boys.
You have any trees near your house?
Oh yeah, we got trees.
Oh, okay.
Probably part of the tree just broke off. Well, anyway, Teddy's looking out the window. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, Nirvana. Okay, let me do that again. All right, gentlemen, I just looked this up. Nirvana Nevermind came out September 24th of 1991. Right. And I've told this story before that I remember when that came out. I was at some club and all of a sudden I'd never heard it before, and they played Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Right.
And I remember that whole moment that once it just happened to coincide with everything. But I remember the music industry just changed. And Eddie Trunks talked about that on his show, how when Nirvana came out and it completely changed everything. So that was September. This came out in October.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much doomed. Because look at this. By this point, this is a dinosaur.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I remember Smells Like Teen Spirit. I heard, I went, holy crap. This isn't hair metal, gentlemen. This is, because hair metal got to this point where it was all silly. You know that. And that was really fresh and energetic. It was really something. I could see why it would change things. But Shadow King coming out in October 91, it's in that time span where it would have just totally gotten, totally forgotten. Let's just keep it that way.
Even if the tracks were top notch, I still think it just wouldn't have crossed over. I mean, even with the fact is, we got Lou Gramm. I mean, he had these great years with Foreigner. He had hits on 2 of his solo albums right in a row. I mean,
but I think his last solo album wasn't his last solo album in 87,
89, Lord
89. So there was a little bit of
just Between You and Me was the big hit off of that.
Oh, that's a great song.
Great song.
Great. I like this solo stuff. That's going on a tangent, but I can see when this record could have came out like in 88, 87. Maybe it would have fit much better. But not 91. Children, it was doomed. I don't know. What was your rating again? Sorry, John. I go on a tangent and get all worked up. And
it's all good. I gave it a 4.5.
4.5. All right. I can see that. I can see that. Right there with that, I couldn't recommend this record, but let's pop it over to Ernesto and get his thoughts on it. He might like it. I don't know. Ernesto, he's got John, the CD, people, so that's something.
John pretty much nailed it really good.
Thank you.
Now we're going to look at it at a different point.
Okay.
We're talking this album, if it would have came out in Europe, where AOR is huge, no matter what you think, it's huge over there. This album would have done way better over there. Now, we were in the States, we were just getting into grunge. I mean, everybody else was getting into grunge. And so it was a new thing. New scene, everything. It was wild, So for this album to come out at that time was awful. It was just bad timing. Bad managing, bad promoting. I mean, the record company didn't even promote it that well. You know what I mean?
Nope.
Well, no, Mick Jones killed it.
Yeah. And he probably had closer ties with the record company, because of Lou Gramm and the falling out and everything. But yeah, if I would have been the manager or the people that are promoting this, I would have said, let's promote this in Europe first and then bring it to the States, because the popularity is more popular. Lou Gramm is 10 times more popular in Europe than he is in the States, because there's so many great vocalists out there in Europe that love his style of singing and they want to sound like him. Yeah, it's, no question. So for this album, and you look at the tracks, and believe me, John went through the tracks perfectly.
Thanks.
What would it take is that should have been the hit right there. That should have been the single.
Oh, definitely.
That's a great song, and he sounds amazing. I mean, Jesus. More of the tracks that I like Don't Even Know I'm Alive. I like that one. It's very AOR. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then Heart of Stone, like John said, is very Whitesnake-ish. but I like it too. It's kind of corny, but it's cool. But No Man's Land and then Russia to me are the ones that really stand out, especially No Man's Land. I don't know, something about it. But then Russia's like a really mellow song. It's really like calming and very like different than anything that Lou Gramm does. So, and the other tracks really don't stand out, John, like John said, he explained it pretty good. Everything that I just said right now from the tracks that I like, there's maybe like 4 or 5 tracks that I like from this list. But What Would It Take should have been a single right there. That should have been automatically a hit right there. But for some strange reason, they didn't pick that song. I don't know why, but And Vivian Campbell's playing is like, it's good. It's not, not the stuff that he was doing in Dio or in
No, he's very subdued.
Yes.
Yeah. He's almost just like a backing musician. I mean, he's only has one co-write on it. Everyone knows Vivian Campbell can write, but he's just like a backing musician.
Yeah.
Underutilized, I'd say.
No, he didn't. They didn't really let him go. It's like, I don't know, they were holding him back or something. But the way it's produced, I think it's pretty good. Keith Olsen, of course, everybody knows Keith Olsen, and it's like the production is amazing. I just think that for some strange reason, it didn't really like hit with the fans here. Either they were just waiting for Foreigner or something else, but they weren't ready for this. I don't think anybody was ready for this, except the fans that like his music, the true fans.
Yeah.
And like I said, this would have been so big in Europe automatically if it would have came out over there. And for them to do that one show, matter of fact, that one show is on YouTube. You can see the whole concert. It's on
really?
YouTube. Yeah, I looked it up. And somebody posted it. So you can see the whole concert. It's cool.
Sweet.
But it's kind of like dark. It's kind of like camera's not that great, but it's still good. Worth the check. And but like I said, this is an album that I do like.
You like?
I like
Okay.
it. I do listen to it. It's very AOR. And I'm a big fan of AOR.
That's true.
I'm going to give you my score. I'm going to give it a 6.
All right.
So
4.5 and a 6.
yeah.
I thought you'd go a little higher. Okay.
You know what? I was going to, but like I said, there's maybe like 4 or 5 tracks that I like out of this album. That really stick out.
What do you like? What do you think of Anytime, Anywhere? Because you were saying,
yeah, it's pretty good.
okay.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
Like I said, 4 or 5 tracks, like the song Danger and the Dance of Love. I do not like that song. And I don't like Boy.
Yeah, I don't like Boy either.
Yeah.
Russia's okay. It's kind of mellow.
Russia's just a mellow song. You could just play it and just chill, and what I mean. It's one of those songs like you don't hear Lou Gramm singing songs like that. It's just very mellow, and it's the songwriting. But yeah, I like it. I like it. I gave it give it a 6, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
All right.
That's the best I can do, I think, because like I said, if I was the manager, I would have never put it out here. I would have waited and put it out sooner in Europe first, then over here.
That's an excellent point there, too.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we were ready for this, especially when grunge coming in. You got all these great bands coming out of Seattle and just taking over. And then hard rock was just disappearing. It was just, it was taking a back seat and everything. And I don't think anybody was, everybody was waiting for the next big thing, and they wanted to hear something different,
I'll tell you, Ernesto, I'm still waiting for the next big thing, and there hasn't been anything.
Well, I know that's well, the Darkness, they would have been the next big thing.
No, but we're still I'm talking the pop music.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Nirvana was charting,
Right.
back in the day. That's a whole
Yeah.
other topic, but I'm still waiting for the next wave. I don't know, kids, if we're ever going to get one.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think the 80s
It's a different
was the best.
world.
I think the 80s was the best for my
Yeah.
generation.
Mhm.
That's what I think. But this is still a great album.
Okay. Well, you give it
Yeah.
a 6.
Yeah.
I think this album, like I said, would have fit better in like 1988, 1987.
Right.
It's out of step with 1991. It had no chance to do anything, of course, because of Mick Jones, because of the Nirvana and the grunge scene. It's very lackluster for me. What would it take, and any time, anywhere, are the two best tracks, I think, on the record. I Want You as a single, poorly chosen. Has to be Mick Jones going in there. Well, I think I Want You as your single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Lou Gramm, as far as vocal performance, sounds freaking great on this record. Vivian Campbell's underutilized. Bruce Turgan, I don't know. I'd have to listen to the Dark Sheep records. I don't know. He's fine.
Yeah.
The band's competent, but I think they're underutilized. But I think this is probably more or less the Lou Gramm solo record, but I'd much rather listen to the Lou Gramm solo albums than this. They're much better songs. I think the tunes on here are lackluster. But Lou mentioned in that interview on the 80s cruise how he loved all these songs. He thought this record was great. But I'll put that video in here.
Yeah,
like I said.
Nice.
I don't know. It's just, on paper it sounds great,
Right.
but it just doesn't do it for me. I'll never listen to this record again. I think it's just middle of the road.
Right.
I don't want to say it's a cash grab. I don't think so, but I think all these guys probably needed to do something, What was Lou doing? What was Vivian doing? Not anything, I don't think. If it's more like a curiosity. It's a product of 1988, even though it's not. Would I recommend it? No, just stick with Foreigner. Stick with the Lou Gramm solo albums. This is just a blip on the screen. I would have to say I'm gonna line up more with John the Music Nut. I'm just gonna give it a 4. I don't want to rate it too low, but I don't know. I'll never revisit this record.
Right.
It's just going through the motions, Maybe it would have fared better in the 80s. I don't know. Might not have.
John's still looking for this. He can't find it. It's going to disappear eventually.
Like I said, I've never seen one that
already.
wasn't a cutout. I mean, I'm sorry. I haven't seen one that wasn't a promo.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They've all been promos.
The thing is, though, this album, I mean, if I owned it,
Yeah.
I would probably put Anytime, Anywhere on a mix CD, and that
Right.
would probably be it. But think about the next year, Mick goes back with Foreigner. I'm sorry, Lou Gramm goes back with Foreigner. They put out that very Best and Beyond. I believe that was 92. And there were a couple new songs on it. And the one they put to radio was Soul Doctor. And Soul Doctor is better than anything else on this record. Soul Doctor kicked ass.
Maybe it's that combination of Mick Jones and Lou Gramm.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were just, when they were together, it was magic,
Right. And this band doesn't have any chemistry. Yeah, they're all competent. Yeah, they can all play. But there's something about Foreigner that made Foreigner work.
Yes.
Even
on the albums that weren't as strong. Like I thought Agent Provocateur.
Agent Provocateur was no Foreigner 4, kids.
No. There were some good songs on there. The singles were magnificent, but
that's it.
But that was pretty much it. And there was a lot of filler.
Yeah.
Whereas like from 4 before, those were all very good to great albums.
Right. Yeah. So we got a 4.5, a 6, and a 4.0, and that gives our rating as a oh my 4.8.
Wow.
So it's middle of the road. If we're
Right.
rating this out of 10, it's middle of the road. I wouldn't recommend it. If you're a completist, you need everything that Lou ever did or Vivian Campbell.
Yeah.
There you go. But I would not. Nah, it's just not very good. It's not bad, just not very good compared to what came before. You know?
Yeah.
So-
Check out the live concert. I think it's worth it.
Well, live, they probably could bring it, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. And Keith Olsen, come on, Keith Olsen, are you producing this or not? It just sounds like, I don't know.
You can't blame him for the songs though. I mean, and
Well, if you don't have the songs, John, you don't have anything.
right, and I mean the songs just like, again, there's a few here I really like, and then there's a few that just like come and go.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go. I think that sums it up.
Mhm.
Anybody else have anything to add? We could just wrap this dog up quick.
You wrap it up with one and done.
One and done.
One
There
and
will be more albums in our one and done series, kids. I can't tell you what's next, but there will be more. So, as always, I want to thank John the Music Nut and Ernesto for being here. Zartan69.
There you go.
To say, give you a little plug. You can see John the Music Nut on various channels. Peter Kerr's Rock Daydream Nation, Contrarians, if we ever can get him back on there, and a slew of other music. My Music Corner. He's on there all the time.
Yeah,
He's a busy man.
I got a weekly gig on there every Wednesday, 8 p.m.
There you go. All right, gentlemen. Well, I want to thank you. This has been yet another episode of One and Done. Please like, subscribe. You know how to do all that, kids out there. And stay tuned for more on the way. Lord knows when this is going to be posted, but it will be posted fairly soon because this will be pretty easy. All right, Shadow King. All right, gentlemen. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.